Hello everybody, Yom Tov and welcome to Wednesday Folk Tales. Today, because I haven't had any other requests, I've decided to have a look through at some of the stories that we've all heard when we were children and that we haven't heard for many years. So, although I tell a lie, I have had a request for something to do with mermaids and mermen. I can't find a huge amount to do with mermen, I have to say, not in the children's genre. More the adult genre, which necessarily aren't folk tales. They're more of a different kind of fantasy. So I decided to let other people sort of Google mermen folktale or mermen tales and just leave it up to yourselves. But I have managed to find a story called The Mermaid Wife from Scotland. So we'll be going to Scotland today, but for our first story we'll be going to visit with the Brothers Grimm, and I thought you might like me to read you Rumplestiltskin, because I haven't heard that story since, way back in the day. Got to be more than 45 years ago since I heard that story last. So I thought I'd read that one to you, and then I'd go on to read you the story called The Mermaid Wife. So please sit back, relax, and are you sitting comfortably? Right then we'll begin with Rumplestiltskin, and I do hope that you enjoy it. There was once a miller who was poor, but he had one beautiful daughter. It happened one day that he came to speak with the king, and to give himself consequence, he told him that he had a daughter who could spin gold out of straw. Haven't we all said that to passing kings? I know I haven't. The king said to the miller, "That is an art that pleases me well. If your daughter is as clever as you say, bring her to my castle tomorrow, that I may put her to the proof." But when the girl was brought to him, he led her into a room that was quite full of straw, and gave her a wheel and a spindle, and said, "Now set to work, and if by the early morning you haven't spun all this straw into gold, you will die." Sorry, I think that's awfully strict. I mean, I really do. I mean, obviously he was a bit of a tyrant, and in that regard I would have called for a republic straight away. I wouldn't have tolerated that. I would have outvoted him, shoved him on a boat to France or somewhere like that, and automatically called for a republic. I tell you what, Queen Elizabeth wouldn't get away with that kind of malarkey. And he shut the door and he left her there alone. And so the poor miller's daughter was left there sitting and couldn't think what to do for her life. And she had no intention how to set to work to spin gold from straw. And her distress grew so great that she began to weep. Then all at once the door opened, and in came a little man and said to her, "Good evening, miller's daughter. Why are you crying?" "Oh," answered the girl, "I've got to spin gold out of this straw, and I don't understand the business." Then the little man said, "What will you give me if I spin it for you?" "My necklace," said the girl. Well, the little man took the necklace, seated himself before the wheel, and whirr, 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 3 times round, and the bobbin was full. Then he took up another, and whirr, 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 3 times round, and that was full. And so he went on till the morning, when all the straw had been spun, and all the bobbins were filled with gold. And at sunrise came the king, and when he saw the gold he was astonished and very much rejoiced, the greedy sod, for he was very avaricious. What did I just say? He had the miller's daughter taken into another room, filled with even more straw, much bigger than the last, because he was a greedy bugger, and told her that if she valued her life, she must spin it all in one night. The girl didn't know what to do, so she began to cry, and then the door opened and the little man appeared again and said, "What will you give me if you spin this straw into gold?" "The ring from my finger," said the girl. So the little man took the ring and began again and sent the wheel whirring round, and by the next morning all the straw was spun into the most glistening gold. The king was rejoiced beyond measure at that sight, but as he could never have enough gold, because let's face it, we've ascertained he is a greedy bugger, he had the miller's daughter taken into an even bigger room, filled with even more straw, and said, "This too must be spun in one night, and if you accomplish it, you shall be my wife," as if she had any choice in the matter. For he thought, although she is but a miller's daughter, I'm not likely to find one any richer in the whole world. So as soon as the girl was left alone, the little man appeared for the 3rd time and said, "So what will you give me if I spin all this straw into gold?" "I've got nothing left to give you," said the girl, hiding the rest of the gold rings behind her back. That's not true, actually. I just ad-libbed a bit. She actually didn't have anything left to give him. I must stop telling these atrocious lies. "Then you must promise me the first child you have after you are queen, you will give to me." "But who knows whether or not that'll happen?" thought the girl. But as she didn't know what to do in her necessity, she promised the little man what he desired, upon which he began to spin until all the straw was gold. And when in the morning the king came and found it all done according to his wishes, he caused the wedding to be held at once, and the miller's pretty daughter became the queen. Well, in a year's time she brought a fine child into the world, and thought no more of the little man. But one day he came suddenly into her room and said, "Now you give me what you promised me." The queen was terrified and offered the little man all the riches in the kingdom if he'd only leave her child with her. But the little man said, "No, I would rather have something living than all the treasures in the world." Well, the queen began to lament and to weep, so that the little man had pity on her. "I will give you 3 days, he said, "and if at the end of that time you cannot tell me my name, you must give up the child to me." Then the queen spent the night in thinking over all the names she'd ever heard, and sent a messenger through the land to ask far and wide for all the names that could be found. So when the little man came to her the next day, she began with Caspar, Melchior and Balthazar. She repeated all she knew and went through the whole list, but after each time the little man said, "That is not my name." The second day the Queen sent to inquire of all the neighbours what the servants were called, and told the little man all the most unusual and singular names, saying, "Perhaps you are called roast ribs, or sheepshanks, or spindleshanks?" But he answered nothing but, "That is not my name." On the third day the messenger came back again and said, "I've not been able to find one new single name, but as I passed through the woods I came to a high hill, and near it there was a little house, and before the house burned a fire, and around the fire danced a comical little man, and he hopped on one leg and cried, 'Today do I bake, tomorrow I brew, the day after that the Queen's child comes in, and oh, I am glad that nobody knew that the name I am called is Rumplestiltskin.'" Well, you cannot think how pleased the Queen was to hear that name, and soon afterwards the little man walked in and said, "Now then, Mrs. Queen, what is my name?" Are you called Jack?" "No." "Are you called Harry?" "Nope." And then she said, "Perhaps your name is Rumplestiltskin?" "The devil told you that! The devil told you that!" cried the little man, and in his anger he stamped with his right foot so hard that it went into the ground above his knee. And then he seized his left foot with both his hands in such a fury that he split in two, and there was an end to him. The end. Right, well, that was quite an entertaining story, I thought. Brought back a lot of memories for me. But I don't think I had the awareness back then to think how greedy was the king to go on like that. And I never ever stopped to think, what happens if he lost all of his gold and then said to his missus, "Go up to the tower and spin me a fortune," for her to come back and say, "Well, there's a bit of a problem. You know that guy who split in two, who tried to take our child away? Well, he was the one who did it, and it never was me." That would come a bit unstuck then, wouldn't you? But you don't think about these things when you're a child. You're just taken away in the moment, aren't you? Is there a moral to the story? You can never have too much gold. That's what I think anyway. Because I must admit, I do love my jewellery. I haven't got my other rings on today, but you know I've got quite a few, and you know I'm quite fond of my jewellery, to be honest. What else can we take from it? Don't call yourself a stupid name that somebody can hear you saying if you're dancing around a bonfire at night. Don't think you can spin gold from straw, because you can't. I think that's about it, really. You know, don't say things that you know you can't do. Don't sell your daughter down the river, you know, and stuff like that. You know, any other morals that you can think of. I'm sure there's lots we can take from that. Right, so anyway, you can let me know what you thought of having your memories jogged by Rumpelstiltskin in the comments. And I shall now go on to read you this Scottish folk tale called The Mermaid Wife. It's not very long. You know, these stories never are. But I'll read you what it says anyway. Apparently it's quite a famous Scottish folk tale. A story is told of an inhabitant. You see, there I go, mix my words up again. Of Unst. That's one of the islands of Scotland. who, in walking on the sandy margin of a Vaux, saw a number of mermen and mermaids dancing by moonlight, and several seal skins strewn about them on the ground. At his approach, they immediately fled to secure their garbs, and taking upon themselves the form of seals, plunged immediately into the sea. But as the Shetlander perceived that one skin lay close to his feet, he snatched it up, bore it swiftly away, and placed it in concealment. On return to the shore, he met the fairest damsel that was ever gazed upon by mortal eyes, lamenting the robbery by which she had become an exile from her submarine friends, and a tenant of the upper world. Vainly she implored the restitution of her property. The man had drunk deeply of love and was inexorable, but he offered her protection between his roof as his betrothed spouse. The Merlady, perceiving that she must become an inhabitant of the earth, found that she could not do better than to accept his offer. This strange attachment subsisted for many years, and the couple had several children. The Shetlander's love for his Merwife was unbounded, but his affection was coldly returned. The lady would often steal alone to the desert strand, and on the signal being given, a large seal would make his appearance, upon whom she would hold in an unknown tongue an anxious conference. Years had thus gilded away, when it happened that one of the children, in the course of his play, found concealed beneath a stack of corn a seal's skin, and delighted with the prize, he ran with it to his mother. Her eyes glistened with rapture. She gazed upon it as her own, as the means by which she could pass through the ocean that led to her native home. She burst forth into an ecstasy of joy, which was only moderated when she beheld her children, whom she was now about to leave. And after hastily embracing them, she fled with all speed towards the seaside. The husband immediately returned, learned the discovery that had taken place, ran to overtake his wife, but only arrived in time to see her transformation of shape completed, to see her in the form of a seal bound from the edge of the rock into the sea. The large animal of the same kind with whom she had held a secret converse soon appeared, and evidently congratulated her in the most tender manner on her escape. But before she dived to unknown depths, she cast a parting glance at the wretched Shetlander, whose despairing looks excited her in her breast a few transient feelings of commiseration. "Farewell," she said to him, "and may all good attend you. I loved you very well when I resided upon the earth, but I always loved my first husband much better." So there you have the mermaids. What's it called? I'll find it yet. The Mermaid Wife. So there you have this explanation anyway, that when people say, where do you think mermaids come from? And the Scottish people believe that they all are seals, and that when they set foot on dry land, they take off the seal skins and then they can dance around in human form. It makes you wonder why they want to do that. Not, the strangest things puzzle me, But, the thing is, here's the Shetlander who knows, obviously, that she is really a seal and can see her in human form, but knows she actually is, one of those, like Slappy the sea lion sort of thing, count to three and pass me a ball and put it on my nose. And yet he's still prepared to marry a seal, which is really in a human form, but is really, really a seal. And it makes you wonder, what kind of mother was she that, although she loved her first husband and missed obviously being in the sea, that she could leave half-human children at home? And would any of them become seals, do you think? Because it does, I do ponder these kinds of stories, I really do. And it makes you wonder about the people who sort of wrote them. And I mean, it wasn't the longest story in the world, was it? But whenever you look for stories about mermaids, the one that comes up is always The Little Mermaid. And that one is far too long to read in the allotted time that we've got together, you see. So, and I did look through it, and I was trying to find an abbreviated version, but the abbreviated versions are all sort of clamped down versions from the Disney thing, which is so far away, really, from the real story. And then it's sort of clocked down again to, talking crabs and, and starfish and things like that. So it's not really what you're after. You want the story that you grew up with. And like I said, if you want any on mermen, you're not going to find any on the Disney Channel. So I'm afraid that was all I had for you this week, boys and girls. I do hope you enjoyed them. Now, thinking forward to Friday, we've got our penultimate Cerber story. So we'll just have to see who we meet on Friday. I'm a bit concerned we haven't heard from Borg. And I can't remember why. Because we've now gone 3 episodes and we haven't heard anything from Borg or about Borg. So I'm deliberately not going to look at the story beforehand, just in case he's in it, and then we all get a nice surprise. I hope he is, but because I do miss him. I think he's an all-round good egg. So we've got that, and then of course the following week we've got the last one for Cerber. I just hope that the author writes some more. I really do, because it's just been so popular. But after that, then we start on our, it's similar to Supernatural, but it isn't, because it hasn't got the same characters in it. The person who's written it, it's like fan fiction. So the ideas that he's got for the writing of it, obviously, Supernatural's given him the ideas for the stories that he's written. You can tell it's influenced by it. But just in case anybody thinks that it's supernatural stories, it's not. It's like a not a copy per se. It's just someone who really likes the story, so wanted to replicate it, but in their own way. So we've got that to look forward to. And some other ghost stories. So I think that's all I've got for you today. I am a little bit tired. I managed to sleep quite a lot after talking to you on Monday, and but I pulled another all-nighter last night, couldn't sleep. So it is what it is. And oh, by the way, just so that you know, I forgot to contact Angie and Linda. I get worse. But Ria, if you go back to the video about fibromyalgia, I've pinned Ria's comment because she goes into great depth about it and how it affects her. So if you want to read Ria's pinned comment, please do. She's done a wonderful job describing how it affects her, and she's described things in much better detail than I did. I forgot a lot of the things. I mean, I didn't tell you the medication that I was first put on, which was gabapentin, and then I was on that for a few months, and then I was taken off that and put on pregabalin. I'm on max dose of that, but it certainly takes the edge off things, but it doesn't do everything. And that was something else that Ria mentioned, was sometimes being touched can be really painful. Also, Ria, was it Daphne? Daphne has fibro as well, and Daphne was saying being touched can be very painful. And I think that's what I was trying to get over about being poked. That, you know, if I get poked or touched more than gently, let's put it that way, it can really feel very painful. So like a slight grip on my wrist would feel like a vice, you know. But anyway, I'm getting, you know, Mondays and Fridays and Wednesdays all mixed up together. Getting a little bit of everything from me today. You never know what you're ever going to get from me. As you can tell, I do work with the script. I think the brain jumps out the window, and my heart's just left beating there, overtaking the head, and whatever comes out of it, out of my head, out my mouth actually. See, I don't even know basic human biology, no. Although there is a saying that you're talking at the top of your head, so that would be true of me anyway. Okay then, guys, I hope you have a lovely, lovely day wherever you are in the world, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your week. I will see the paranormal crew on Friday, and if any of the others of you want to pop in, that's great. I'd love to see you. And I can confirm that as long as I remember how to do it, our Halloween in the Haven will take place on the night itself, on the 31st of October, and I am determined to do it in a live stream with a spooky atmosphere, and tell short stories, and in the meantime we can talk to each other. So I don't know how you feel about that, but that's what I plan on doing for you. So again, let me know in the comments. Let me know what you think about that. And please let me know what you thought of today's stories. And like I said, if you've got any requests or anything else, just let me know. And and if I can do it for you, I will. I love you all, and I will see you all very, very soon. In the meantime, take care. Bye for now. Bye-bye.